again. I'm Lainey.
And I'm Laura Beth.
And we are Steel Magnolias.
Two sisters who love family, traditions, and all things Southern.
We've got plenty of room at our table, so pull up a chair.
Hey, Lainey.
Hi, Laura Beth.
Welcome back, both of us.
I know. I've missed sitting with you.
We've had vacations, and we've kept up the podcast well, but we've both crossed the pond, as they say.
Yes, and we're going to be a little late on this episode, and I just wanted our listeners to know I felt guilt that we were not going to be ready on Tuesday morning as usual.
Well, we're going to be pretty close.
We're going to be close, but
yeah.
Just know we do honor that we have regular listeners, and I felt a little bad.
A little tardy, and that's partly my fault. I was on a trip to Switzerland and Austria and Germany.
Amazing.
That my husband and I won on Wheel of Fortune.
So fun.
Since we were on the show earlier this year, and it was awesome. I actually watched a film on the 11-hour flight home. I watched a couple of films, actually.
I bet you did.
But one of them I thought I would mention here because it was so good. And I remember seeing the previews for this. It was called Green Book, and it came out last year.
Okay.
And I remember seeing the previews and thinking that would be good. And as such is life, I never actually got around to seeing it in the theater. And so since I had time, I watched it.
Based on a true story?
I showed you the trailer before to see if you had heard of it, and you thought it looked familiar too. It's inspired by a true story, and it's the biographical drama that's set in 1962, and it's inspired by this tour of the Deep South by an African-American and classically trained and jazz pianist named Don Shirley. I'm not familiar with him, but
we should be.
He is an artist. So Don Shirley, and that's his name in the film and his real name, and an Italian-American bouncer.
Oh my gosh.
Named Tony Lip.
Okay, this is already a great storyline.
He serves as Shirley's driver and basically bodyguard because...
Of being in the Deep South.
So this Don Shirley artist is African-American, and then his driver is a white Italian guy. But the film's named after the Negro motorist Green Book.
Okay.
That's why it's called Green Book, which was a mid-20th century guidebook for African-American travelers to tell them where they could stay.
Oh, my gosh.
Like what hotels were acceptable. So that book was written by Victor Hugo Green. So that's why it's called Green Book.
I see. Okay.
And so, I mean, it was fascinating because...
And this is 1962.
1962, yeah. So they leave, they're both reside in New York.
Okay.
And, I mean, this is like as stereotypical Italian New Yorker. Everything that you think of. You know, the harshness, the brassness. It's actually rated... Passion.
But also, yeah.
It's actually rated PG-13, and I always err on the conservative side. So I would say, like, language-wise, I would have given it
for 13.
Even stronger rating, but nobody ever asks me what films...
Yeah.
They would pretty much all be R and higher these days, if you ask me, but... yeah, so I just want to give the caveat.
Not necessarily a family-friendly for that age.
No, even though it's PG-13.
What about if your kids were 16, 17?
I still think... Okay. I mean,
everybody's different.
Everybody's different, but I still think it's more adult than that. But, like, the whole first hour is, like, character setup, you know, where you're getting to know this brass Italian, and he's revealing all the stereotypes he has towards black culture, and he's not even realizing, you know, what he holds.
Which is real.
Yeah.
I mean...
Like, even in the trailer that I showed you is the line, when they get to Kentucky, the Italian guy, he's like, Kentucky Fried Chicken in Kentucky? When's that going to happen? I mean, he's so excited to get fried chicken, and he gets a bucket, and he's in the front seat, passes it back to...
Assuming that...
Don Shirley, and Don Shirley's like, I've never even had fried chicken. And he's like... What? Like, you people love fried chicken and grits. He says that. And grits and collard greens. And so, so you're seeing all of that start to line up. But as the movie continues, you really do start to wonder, why does this African-American man not have interest in things like fried chicken and, Chuck Berry and Little Richard. Those sorts of artists even come up, and he doesn't have...
Because he's more classically trained. And so
trained.
he's
But, so you're starting to wonder, why does he shy away, though, from a lot of what we would consider more black
This is
culture.
reminding me, I'm sorry to go in a funny direction, but it reminded me of that skit that was on, I think it was on In Living Color, of the Asian girl that people just assumed that she liked sushi and that she could do nails.
gosh.
Do you remember that? All these assumptions of things that she did.
She's like, I don't do nails.
Anyway, it's just interesting how people put in a box.
Yeah.
If you look a certain way, you must.
Well, and there's
XYZ.
What turns out to be true, there's prejudices all around. It's not just
no matter
the Italian
what
guy.
Culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they do go deep into the South. They're stopping on tour at these grand country clubs in Louisville and Raleigh and Macon. And the South is not portrayed well. There is such hate and racism on full display that that is hard to watch.
It is. And we weren't alive in 1962, but
yeah. But
that's not that long
I know,
ago.
but it also feels pretty recent.
I know.
So, but the point of the film is much more about control of our attitudes.
Okay. Regardless of people's response.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actions and how we really do each have something to offer one another.
Absolutely.
And that's what you see in this relationship between these two men. And so, it was so good.
I want to see it for sure.
Really enjoyed it.
I think I told you on my 8-hour flight home, my TV didn't work, so I didn't get to watch movies. That's
crap.
brutal. Because I'm sorry, but
that's crap. Yeah.
That's the one thing you are thinking is I'll catch up on my movies.
Yeah.
And so that kind of stunk. But anyway, I'm glad you got to see that.
I watched Sound of Music because I had been to all the places in Austria where the Von Trapp family lived.
Is that not the best movie? And super family friendly.
Super family friendly. Also very interesting that the Austrians and Germans don't know that movie. Did you know that?
Not
they
until you told me that.
Know that
and I'm
movie.
like, that's strange because...
to the point where we met up with a German friend of my husband's that lives in Hamburg, Germany. He grew up in Berlin.
Military? Oh, no.
He's from there. We started singing Doe a Deer.
He's just...
blank stare.
No.
I asked the hotel where we were staying because there is a home that is still in existence today that's a far descendant of one of the Von Trapps.
Okay.
And our tour guide had pointed out that it said over the doorway, Palace...
De Von Trapp.
Palace Trap is what it said. Trapp. She was like, I don't know where you're talking about. I was like, it says over the doorway. I just can't remember what street it was on. It's a descendant of the Von Trapps. She was like...
And that is...
She's just shaking her head no. I'm like, you speak English? She was like, yes.
Wow.
And then the last thing I'll say about the trip was it's always so fun when you're in a foreign land to see, familiar products. And so... if I can find it on my phone, I was going to show you.
Other than Jack Daniels, because that's always everywhere.
But look, close to what it is. Can you see? It's a can of what I thought was soda, because it is cola. But it's Jack Daniels and Coke already mixed together in a can.
So you have to be adult to buy it?
Yeah.
I would guess?
Yeah.
And it's only €4.90
for one can.
Well, that's true. That's true. That's one can.
That's one can. So that's really $5, which
that's
I saw
more
it.
Than $5. That's
I saw it
$6.50.
even more expensive in other places. But we were at a rest
fun,
stop.
Though, that it's already mixed.
I was like, that's brilliant. Why don't we have that in the States? It's a Jack and Coke in a can.
That's so fun.
So anyway, of course they're familiar with Jack Daniels, but I wasn't familiar with the Jack Daniels that they have.
That's so funny. But it is fun to see products or hear music. Did you hear any music that was Southern specific? 'Cause
no, I didn't.
That's you. I think you start to see the influence that America has on the world.
Yeah.
When you go places and you're hearing, you know, I was in China and Michael Jackson was on in a store, and I made a video for Philip because I'm like, I'm in China and Michael Jackson's on. You know, you realize like, wow, we really do shape a lot of that kind of culture of media.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember hearing any country music or Johnny Cash or Elvis. I was just hearing pop artists.
Johnny Cash is big in Europe.
I know. I thought I might, but I didn't. So,
well, I'm glad you're home.
Thanks. I'm glad you're home too. It's good to be back in familiar culture.
Yes.
And we have a really fun show today. We are going to talk about antiquing.
A little bit on antiquing, yes.
We also wanted to mention, because it's coming up very soon, the world's longest yard sale. So the world's longest yard sale is not exclusive to the South. It actually starts up north.
In Michigan?
In Addison, Michigan. But it goes all the way down to Gadsden, Alabama. And so
on Highway 127, mostly,
that's right. So it's coming up August 1st through 4th. Okay. So if you are still celebrating summer and that time frame has not yet passed, maybe you'd want to make it out to the world's longest yard sale. It spans 6 states: Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama.
Okay.
It's 690 miles long.
Yeah. I looked up the route just to see. And did you do that? Did you look at some of the different... So I was looking in Tennessee, like there were certain small cities that would have like 100 vendors.
Yeah.
Or 80 vendors. Like, it was amazing.
Yeah, their website is good. If you truly are going to make it out, like you do need to consult the website to see like what pockets on the route would be the biggest to hit. 127yardsale.com. I'll put that in our show notes. But it looked like from our Middle Tennessee standpoint, like if you went over to Crossville,
Pikeville kind of was
even down to Chattanooga, that's going to be the closest it's coming to us. Like from Lookout Mountain, and that's in Georgia, to Gadsden, the route switches to Lookout Mountain Parkway.
Okay.
So that would be super scenic. Like if you're wanting even better scenery.
And I don't think there was much in Georgia, but a lot in Alabama.
Yeah, it just kind of hits
kind
the
of
corner,
an interesting thing too.
Northwest corner of
so they're
Georgia.
Including that state, but I don't think that's super hot on the route.
Yeah. So anyway, I've never been.
It
sounds like I have actually... I've been driving from Knoxville to Nashville, and I have seen in the Crossville area. I've been on the interstate, and I've seen it.
Okay.
I've just happened to have been.
But you were ready to get home.
Driving past it.
On those moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's full. I mean, there's food vendors. Like, it's not just, yard sale items for sale. It's the full day.
Well, now on those, since we haven't been, I can't really speak to this. I'm not sure how much true antiquing you would say.
Yeah,
I mean, it might be more knicknacks and stuff.
That would be. I would probably put it in more of like the flea market, sort of category.
Which people have antiques there, or they have their niche thing. That's one thing you start to see in all of that world. Be that vintage or antiquing, which we could talk about that even right now. Yeah. Antique typically means 100 years old or older.
Yes.
Whereas something that's vintage could be, 30, 40 years old. So it's older, but it's not antique.
So I guess I don't own a single antique. I was thinking I've got some really old things, and I was going to share later in our show today some of my favorite. But I guess I just have vintage items.
Well, and even with the vintage word, I have a funny story. I had to call Apple last year about my iMac computer. And when I called, they were like, now, is this in reference to your vintage iMac?
Stop. Vintage iMac?
And I was like, is it vintage? And they said, yes, it was considered vintage. Well, I think I got
You're like, no, this isn't from the late 90s.
I think I got it in 2010 or 2011. I can't remember. And this was in 2018, and it was considered vintage.
Oh,
but think about it in the electronics world when there's new.
But see, I still think like, you know, you watch movies, and if they've got a computer monitor that's got that big bulkhead in the back of the screen and on the monitor, yeah, that looks vintage. But your iMac
is still
seems
flat,
harsh,
and it's working good, so I'm not planning on replacing it.
That's harsh.
Anyhow, things you might see at the longest yard sale. I was thinking of some things that you might see there.
Do tell, yeah.
And I found this funny list of things that many Southern homes had. So I'm not going to read all of them because there's many.
Okay.
But I do think you might see an impressive collection of Pyrex casserole dishes in every conceivable size.
Oh, for sure.
And same for Corningware and Tupperware. I think you're going to see a lot of that. So, and by the way, I still have 3 Corningware dishes that my good friend Sean Moy gave me when he got married and got all new things. Love my Corningware.
I do get attached to certain casserole pieces, whether they be old or new, based on the size. So it's really fun to find a really large selection of sizes because size matters.
And I have like a really small, like it's not teeny small, but I would guess it's a 3x3, 4x4 size Corningware that's so great for dip. Like if it's a hot dip.
Yes.
Because I don't want something massive, but it needs to be oven friendly.
Yeah.
So there's just things that you get attached to that are important. What else? You might see lots of good cast iron.
Oh, yeah.
You know, at something like that. And if it's a little rusty, you can fix that. Don't worry about that.
Let somebody else have put in all of the wear and tear to season.
And you're going to get it back up to par. And and again, you'd probably see lots of different sizes.
Absolutely.
Things like that.
Well, and we did a full episode when we talked about cast iron cooking. So I'll put that link in our show notes. Yeah. If you're wanting to get out and look for cast iron, we had a great show where we talked about even
caring for it and
cooking with it, reviving it. Yeah, I'll put that link in our show notes.
You're going to see lots of things. Mason jars, you know, and even those pretty blue ones. I don't have any of the pretty blue ones, but those are so nice for awesome. Vases or, you know, collecting things, you know, if you wanted to put grains in it or whatever.
Yeah.
And what else? Oh, you'd probably see... Gosh, there's just so many things on here. I thought this was a funny one. Pet beds so plush that Queen Elizabeth would totally approve of them for her corgis. That's one thing in America. We have really nice things for our pets.
Do. Now, see, pet things are hard because of a pet scent. Like, is that going to be...
Well, you could probably change out the little pad. And, you know, if it's that cute little...
Yeah. But, you know, pet scent matters to
That's true.
Animals.
Are they going to get on it if it smells like somebody else? I don't know. Anyway, there's lots on here, but you'd find all kinds of fun things. For me, with a kitchen the size I have, I can't have every contraption known to man.
Right.
They had a list of funny things that are real specific, task specific, corn cutters, shrimp deveiners.
Hey, shrimp deveiners are so helpful.
And very needed.
I don't have one, but I've seen somebody use one before.
Yeah. Or you can buy them already deveined, but then you're paying more for that.
Yeah, if you eat shrimp often,
that
might be something.
Anyway, I just thought that was fun.
That's awesome.
Little list of things you would see in a Southern home.
Well, August 1st through 4th is the world's longest yard sale. So, again, we'll put the link to their website in our show notes so you can follow along the route. But if you are into antiquing, which is really largely popular in New England. I mean,
well, because they have so much old.
They are
furniture,
more colonial than we are. Yeah. So, if
Virginia's got a good bit.
Absolutely. So I found the list on Foders, the travel group magazine. They had a good list, and I picked out some of the southern locations. So I'll put the link in our show notes, but one of their top picks was Buchanan, Virginia. Virginia's Buchanan is a small town of like under 1,500 people.
Okay.
And it's positioned right at the foot of the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's the perfect destination for antique dealers seeking premium vintage wares. It's known for its antique alley. So Buchanan's Main Street features 5 outlets overflowing with specialty items. They recommended starting at a place called the Barefoot Peddler, which is a family-owned and operated shop and specializes in painted furniture and wall decor. That's fun. But you can stroll down Main Street to Antique Alley's even newer, sort of, they've got some emporiums that are on the newer end, and they've got like 40 vendors that sell antiques, collectibles, as well as jams and jellies.
Well, I do think there's one thing you got to be careful of, and that is if you're truly searching for antiques, you may want to get some counsel on where to go, because there's a lot of reproductions out.
Yes.
And so, like, I know, there's places here in Franklin where I've walked in, and the prices to me are such that it should be antique, but it's a reproduction. So
that's a great point.
You don't want to put a lot of money into something that you think is an antique that's actually a reproduction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless you don't care.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that in the sense of, if you're thinking you're buying an antique, make sure you are. And there's ways you can check all that. I'm not a pro on all that. I know people look at the drawers and see different markings on things to know if it truly is, or is this a reproduction. But there's a lot of reproductions happening.
See, and that's so difficult. You'd really have to research ahead of time if you were looking for something specific or going to spend a good amount of money on something.
Well, and I think that's important too. You can't know everything about everything. So I've heard people say, if you're going to be on the lookout for something, focus in on that one thing.
Just that one thing, yeah.
Don't try to fill your house with antiques and not know what you're buying and looking for.
Right.
Like, look for that one antique dresser or that one antique buffet.
Yeah. Well, and I think, we're going to talk about in probably even our next episode on Southern interiors. A good mix of a Southern home, or a good Southern interior, includes that mix of
new and old.
Old.
That's my favorite houses. They're not all old and not all new.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So even if you just have that one antique in your, in your home, in like the main entryway or living room,
in the story,
that's still great.
We're all about stories in the South, aren't we?
So yes. So the next two places I was going to mention are great because, again, they're on this list, but they're small town, and with small town comes usually a better price.
Because the rent's not as high, for one thing.
The rent isn't as high. So Hazel, Kentucky.
I love the name already.
Is mentioned with only about 410 people.
No way.
How about that? 410, not 400. With only about 410 people, Hazel is a small but mighty antiquing town, as it boasts a remarkable 12 independent antique shops.
Wow.
Almost all of these line the town's main street, allowing for an easy day, but a long stroll through American history. And, let's see, hats, jeans, boots, rodeo gear, those all fly off the shelves.
How funny.
Blue Moon Antiques is one of the places that Foders recommended stopping in. That's where definitive furniture pieces such as oversized armoires are so remarkable they demand attention.
That's so fun.
And that is fun when you're looking at a really grand piece that just demands your attention. The other small town place is right here in Tennessee, Clinton, Tennessee.
Yep.
Dedicate at least a day to the wonders to be found on the Clinton Antique Trail, Tennessee's antique hub that hugs the Clinch River with a population of almost 10,000, so substantially larger than Hazel, Kentucky.
Yep.
Clinton offers visitors small-town Southern charm with an emphasis on antiques. This says you can try something called the Antique Market, where a 1900s era building houses antiques, primitives, and quality collectibles. The trail continues on to another 12 antique shops with seemingly endless piles of treasure. And we were saying, again, like, rent matters. Like, we have lots of antiques here in our area, but our rent is higher, and you definitely see that
in the pricing. Things are marked. Yeah. I'm sure many of our listeners are familiar with American Pickers, that show, which is a great show. I love to watch that when I can. Mike Wolf of that show lives right here in Leapersport near us. Yeah. And one of his stores is in Nashville called Antique Archaeology.
Yeah.
While I love the show, and I think that they're really smart in how they do things, including they know when they need to call somebody because they don't know what something's worth. Like,
exactly.
You can't
call in
know
an expert.
everything about everything.
Yeah.
So they know people in different aspects of antiquing and who to call. But their store here, to me, felt like more of a tourist destination.
Like
than
a showroom, almost.
Mixed in is lots of T-shirts and items that say antique archaeology and some antiques.
Right.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
But even then, their pricing is already...
Oh, it's so jacked up.
Super high.
You know, they show on the show, which I don't even know if the show is still creating new episodes.
I don't know.
You know, they're way out. They're in
somebody's barn in
they started
Missouri.
in Iowa.
Yeah.
And there are, I mean, I want to make sure and let people know, like, we're not saying that the South is the antique capital.
No.
There's a ton
in fact,
of
it would probably be New England if there were. Yeah,
but Iowa is usually on a lot of lists as well.
Funny.
And that's where their hub started.
Yeah.
And these are way, way, way off the beaten path places, you know, like really rundown sheds that they're stopping.
And they'll ask around, like ask people, like, hey, who has a barn that we need to know about?
Exactly.
That kind of thing.
And
that's
it's
the
television, so, I mean, it looks like they're knocking on the door for the first time, and I'm sure they called ahead. But to see the way that they show on that show, calculating, you know, what they paid for it and then what they're going to resell it for, I still think if it's in that Nashville store, it's like
even more than that.
Another 20% to that.
True. It's so true. Now, we have a listener who's a friend of mine that has a niche items that she loves to collect and sell, and so she's had here in Franklin booths at some of the antique places.
Oh, cool.
And then she also has an eBay store, but her store is called The Sleeping Porch.
Yes.
And she's got a lot of great... she loves kitchen items, particularly like mid-century kitchen items. So she's got lots of, you know, cute milk glass and kitchen aprons from the 50s and different things
so
like
retro.
That. Like very, very cute stuff. But a lot of these vendors, they'll know their niche. They know the items to look for when they're out and about that are for their niche thing, and sell those in various locations, be that eBay, Etsy, you know, online markets and touchable places where you can walk in. But there's getting to be more and more online shopping.
That's crazy.
Even in the area of antiques and vintage things, which I think is kind of odd in the sense of you can't touch it.
I know, but I mean, it makes sense the way that we're consuming and shopping. Yes. You mentioned eBay, and at first I was like, wait, no, actually I can... Especially if you knew exactly what you've been looking for.
Right. I'm looking for this mixer from the 1950s.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
it's kind of a nice way to, like, price compare.
True. That's true.
Without spending time on the road.
I've got a friend that's from Virginia, and she has been blessed with many, many antiques in her family line, but is also loves to online shop.
Yeah.
So she's been using a site called Everything But the House.
Okay.
To find things that she's...
cool.
Yeah, and she's had great luck because I think there's even... I haven't used that site. I did go to it just to see what all's on there, and it's literally everything but the house. I mean, like, it's in categories, but
that's cool.
There's everything on there. But with the furniture, you can choose to pick it up. It's not like you have to pay a shipping.
Right.
You can go pick it up. And if you're willing to, you know, drive to Kentucky or drive to Georgia, you know, maybe you could get it in that kind of a way. But anyway, lots of sites, and I found others that were popular that I thought I would mention, and maybe we could put in the show notes.
Sure.
Now, I haven't bought from any of these, so I want to say that up front.
We can't fully endorse these.
Yeah, I just looked at their sites.
Yeah.
And you can do the same and make judgment on if it's ridiculously overpriced or good. But I mentioned Everything But the House, and their site is EBTH.com.
Nice.
Okay. There is, I love this name. Cherish, like chair, CHA.
Cherish. Yeah, it's like cherish. Yeah.
Yeah. Cherish.com. They have vintage and used furniture section. They also have things you can look by price. You can look by particular style, mid-century.
Oh, cool. That's important to a lot of
things
people
like
too.
that.
Yeah.
There's one called First Dibs.
Nice.
Which is 45,000 square foot New York City gallery that they have.
What?
That's massive.
Dang.
And so anyway, they have lots of different listings, again, by period, style, material, all of that. And then another one called rejuvenation.com. So those are some sites if you want to start by just sitting on your bottom at home.
Yes,
you can kind of start to see
there.
what you like. And
see, that would be,
it could get intimidating and overwhelming. But
so can some of these antique malls. Like when there is such a large space in some of these concentrated antiquing areas, a main street that's full of antique shops, it's fun to cruise around as a thing to do, like something to pass the time. But if I were truly in need of something, it can be a little intimidating.
Down. Well, I think people that get to doing this too. I have a friend who she likes certain little things. Like she knows what she likes.
Yeah.
So she will go to the Nashville Flea Market or the Murfreesboro Flea Market.
Yeah.
And she even has people that she will say, like, okay, this is my jewelry guy. I'm going to have him be on the lookout for this cameo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or this is my cast iron person, and I really want this particular thing.
Yeah.
And they will call her, hey, we're in Nashville, and I've got a couple things I want you to see.
Yeah.
So he'll hold those things for her to come look at them.
Yeah.
And she can say yay or nay. And so once you kind of get into it, you can have people looking for you.
Yeah.
So you're not having to do all of it.
Well, I looked up in preparation for this, like what are some antiques that a lot of people are in general looking for.
Okay.
So I had a little list I was going to share of some popular items that people either are regularly purchasing or collecting.
Or even maybe just to start. If you don't have anything and you just want one piece, what do you do?
So a wood chest is very popular. First edition books.
Yes.
So, that can run
You can do that in the Goodwill. Even.
Exactly.
You may find one.
Yeah. Guitars and other instruments.
Okay.
That's a popular
I can see
antique item. Lunch boxes.
Really?
Really, really, really old, Christmas ornaments. A portable sewing machine.
Okay.
That's a popular antique.
Not a foot pedal one. The portable one.
Yeah, not one that's monogramming. And a Windsor style armchair. That's a really popular.
That's just a classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Postcards.
Oh, yeah.
Those are fun.
Done that.
Yeah. And I just finished the list with whatever you enjoy. Everybody
That's the main
has
thing.
their own style.
That's right.
Of their home. So really you don't have to get pigeonholed into what's cool and popular in the antique world. If you like kitchen things, then go with kitchen things.
That's
if you're only going to invest in one antique item, then maybe look at one of those wood chests or those armoires that are.
And for
grand.
me, I think it needs to be like something that you will look at and enjoy, not something that's going to be in a box.
True.
In the attic. What is that?
Yeah.
I sound very Marie Kondo when I say this.
Everybody's loving her right now.
Spark joy,
Yeah,
then hang it on the wall or whatever. Like it should be in a place where you get to enjoy it.
Yeah. So we said early on we don't have that we know of. I think we would know if we had owned any antiques.
Special things to me, like quill. I have a couple of quills.
So that's what I was going to ask you. Do you have any like vintage besides your computer?
Grandmother's made.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't fall under vintage. By the way, I found another quilt that was not finished last year.
Okay.
That was in a
chest.
Yeah. And Mom said, I'll finish it for you if you'll do all the work of tearing off all the paper. It has to have all the paper on the back when they're...
Why is that? Do you know?
It holds it together while they piece it.
Oh, okay.
So I get to tearing, and it's, often they would sew with feed sacks or newspapers, whatever they had. And I took a picture of the back of the quilt. There was an article about... the Nazis in London. And I was just thinking, like, wow, this is on the back of this quilt that one of our family members made, and that was the news of the day. And that's not antique, but that's pretty close. Yeah. We're getting close. So
interesting. Yeah, oftentimes vintage or antique items can lead to other vintage or antique items.
Yeah.
You know, you reach into the pocket of a jacket and find something else.
There's a receipt from
open a jewelry box,
buying something.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I have a very small end table in our guest room, and I love it because, again, it's really small. I mean, I use it as kind of a nightstand, but it doesn't really have much more room than like a clock and a small candle. I mean, it's very small, but it's straight on one side, like, so it can go flush with the wall, and then it's got this really pretty curved edge on the rest of it. And it's getting close to antique. Like it was handed down on my husband's side. And then I've got this Coca-Cola tray that is I mean, it would only be vintage, but it's just fun.
Special.
It's got a pretty lady with like this real ornate hat on, and
I know.
I don't know where it was used or why, Coca-Cola manufactured it, but
there's like a lot of cute really Coke memorabilia. In fact, that's a collectible thing.
Yeah,
a lot of people
signs,
collect. Yeah,
lots of signs, gas station, cola signs, different products.
Yeah,
that had like a metal sign. That's definitely one. So,
but I think one of the things you need to know is what is your thing. Like for me, art is really important, and I can't afford to do oil paintings by famous artists.
Yeah,
but I've upgraded my framed posters.
Heck yeah, you have.
College to at least, in a direction of something maybe that's an oil painting from an estate sale or something like that. So that's something that's important to me but everybody has their thing.
Yeah. Estate sales are so great too.
There's a site called estatesales.net.
Yeah.
That you can go, mark what your location is, and they can send you estate sales that are close to you.
Yes.
And you can even see the photos before you go, which is really helpful.
Prices.
You can't see the prices.
Is intentional. They want to get you over on the property.
And estate sales, they're going to know more of the value of things than maybe a yard sale would. You're not going to find the absolute basement price.
Right.
But it might be better than if it was in a store somewhere.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we've given everybody the itch to go visit the longest yard sale or an antique store, or even just think about what fun piece might be nice to add to their own home.
Once we talk Southern interiors, I think we're going to do that on our next episode. That will tie this in together too.
Yes.
What to go look for, and if you want to start with a particular room, maybe what focal piece you want to start with.
Yeah. Speaking of interiors, if you have not joined our mailing list, which I'll put the link in our show notes, then you are not aware of a giveaway that we announced in our last newsletter. So make sure and hit the description button on this episode to join our newsletter. We'll be sending out only one a month. We're not going to spam you.
Yeah.
And we will be sort of foreshadowing different things that we are working on, different giveaways to come. And so we want to make sure that you guys are in the know and up to speed on all that Steel Magnolias are up to. So
we appreciate each of you.
Yeah. Thanks for listening in. And you guys have a great rest of your week. We'll see y'all later.